A political wildfire has come to LA. People demand answers. Will heads start rolling? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Put on your oversized fire jackets and clothespins and take out your selfie sticks, boys and girls. LA's got some fire.
Multiple wildfires raging out of control tonight, fueled by hurricane-force winds. The fire in the Pacific Palisades, now the most destructive in the city's history.
First responders moving in. Helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft trying to contain the fires from the skies. As overnight, the Santa Ana winds kicked up again. In the Pacific Palisades, the fire that took so much is still growing.
And I'm not just talking about the actual fires. There's a political firestorm over what many see as fire response mismanagement. The fires are a case study in botched socialist policies and inept leadership. Even though California's Department of Water Resources said many of California's largest reservoirs were at or above historic average storage, that didn't seem to help. Fire hydrants ran dry as firefighters battled the blazes. Well, the fire hydrants that weren't stolen, mind you. What kind of animal would want to steal fire hydrants? Well, except dogs. Firefighters were so desperate for water at one point, one was seen scooping water with traffic cones to put out small fires. It's the one time LA's traffic issues actually came in handy. So what gives? Was it climate change? Political mismanagement? The woke? Well, it was kind of a perfect storm. During winter, California purposely keeps water levels low because people use less water and they don't want bacterial growth in stagnant reservoirs. And LA doesn't tolerate disgusting bottom feeders, outside of Hollywood producers. LA's city water system is not designed to deal with massive fires, which in a state known for having massive fires makes total sense. That would be like Taco Bell not having any toilets. That's why 3 water tanks in Pacific Palisades, holding nearly 1 million gallons each, went dry in just a little over 10 hours. It also didn't help that Pacific Palisades Santa Ynez Reservoir was offline. It's been undergoing repairs since February last year over a tear in its cover. Seems like maybe they should have got that fixed a little sooner. An independent investigation is now looking into the offline reservoir and dry fire hydrants. And some LA officials are now in hot water. People are saying the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power CEO, who gets paid $750,000 a year, knew about the empty reservoir and broken fire hydrants months before the fire. But that's okay because she was busy using that time talking about promoting equity and social justice.
It's important to me that everything we do, it's with an equity lens and social justice and making sure that we right the wrongs that we've done in the past.
Well, she can add to that list, letting LA go up in flames. Yes, it seems that LA's fire department was more concerned about diversity than preventing fires. Wouldn't you rather have competence as your main priority? Well, here's LAFD's Assistant Chief Christine Larson, a lesbian of color, addressing concerns about that.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Oh, this poor person being rescued by someone who doesn't look like them. Remember, folks, fires don't discriminate. Now, to be fair, the actual firefighters have performed admirably with what they have. They managed to put out fires before they spread despite raging winds and fires as large as or even bigger than Manhattan. And then there's a question about how much of this was arson. But it seems that there was a very real failure on the part of the leadership and government officials who did not do enough to prepare for the fires beforehand. That's why all eyes are on LA Mayor Karen Bass. Bass left the country to attend a presidential inauguration in Ghana, not long after the National Weather Service warned of a potential fire risk. Even after getting more and more serious warnings, Bass still didn't come back until parts of her city were turned to ash. How was visiting Ghana supposed to help LA? Well, being out of the country as your city burns does look bad. There's also Bass's decision to cut LAFD's budget by over $17 million. That included eliminating 73 vacant civilian positions and reducing money available to pay firefighters overtime by $7.9 million. Now, things are a little more complicated than that. The budget was approved while negotiations with firefighter unions were still ongoing. Ultimately, an agreement was made, firefighters got a pay raise, and the fire department's budget actually increased by $53 million more than last year. But it doesn't get better for Bass. According to the Daily Mail, a leaked memo alleges Bass demanded her fire department cut an extra $49 million just 1 week before the wildfires broke out. But that's okay, because it's not like California is known for spontaneously bursting into flames multiple times a year every year. She also prioritized the homeless population by budgeting over $1.3 billion on the homeless, in addition to spending hundreds of thousands of dollars supporting gay choirs, trans cafes, and social justice art. Well, I hope that art wasn't flammable. And it seems like all this created tension with LAFD Chief Kristen Crowley. A month before the fires, she warned that budget cuts were hampering emergency response. Crowley also wrote a November memo that the fire department doesn't have the staff and fire stations needed to keep up with LA's massive population and call volume. Obviously, after the fires, Crowley was somewhat reluctant to criticize her bosses.
Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
Crowley has since become much more openly critical.
Let me be clear. The $17 million budget cut and the elimination of our civilian positions like our mechanics did and has and will continue to severely impact our ability to repair our apparatus. I have, over the last 3 years, been clear that the fire department needs help. We can no longer sustain where we are. We do not have enough firefighters. With that, I have also requested multiple budgets, interim budgets, to show how understaffed, under-resourced, and underfunded the LAFD is.
Ugh. Dang, you'd think the fire chief would know how dangerous it is in such dry conditions to absolutely cook someone like this. Some speculate that Bass would fire Crowley over this criticism, but that hasn't happened as of this recording. It wouldn't be a great look firing the fire chief you failed, though. It's hard to really get a look at anything, though, right now through all the smoke. It's not just local leadership that's facing scrutiny. California Governor Gavin Newsom himself is facing the heat because of the fires. Many are asking what happened to all the billions Newsom said he poured into better forest management and firefighting technology. And California's water infrastructure hasn't seen the upgrades it approved a decade ago. This 2022 audit found that California utilities weren't doing enough to reduce wildfire threats. And yet, California found the time and money to sue the Trump administration 123 times, on average once every 12 days. They also found the money to expand health insurance for illegal immigrants. Looks like they should have given them fire insurance as well. Environmental red tape also hamstrung forest management, preventing controlled burns. The writing was on the wall. It should have been clear to anyone that a fire like this was coming. This was something even Donald Trump was warning about multiple times on the campaign trail.
The head of Austria tells me, we have trees that are much more flammable than what you have in California. We never have forest fires because they maintain their forests.
It's nice of him to warn the state that kept constantly suing him. Making matters worse is California's insurance system. And this is a lesson in how socialist policies end up screwing people over. Under the 1988 ballot measure, Proposition 103, dubbed the voter revolt to cut insurance rates, California made it notoriously difficult for insurance companies to make a profit. Until recently, insurers were prohibited from increasing premiums without a long, tedious bureaucratic process. The result? Insurance companies scaled back fire coverage and stopped issuing new policies in California. That means the government and voters' attempts to create more access to fire insurance actually resulted in less fire insurance. This, in turn, has put more pressure on California's state-backed insurer of last resort, the FAIR Plan. But there's a problem. FAIR only has about $700 million in cash on hand to pay claims, and these fires blow that out of the water. Claims could reach into the tens of billions. If FAIR can't pay up, the remaining costs are split with all the remaining insurance companies in California, which means insurance companies will either pass it off to customers or they will leave the state and Californians will become uninsurable. In a free market, lots of insurance companies would come to California because there's a crazy high demand for fire insurance, and competition would drive down prices. And you gotta wonder, now that all this property is destroyed and people won't have the insurance money to rebuild, who's gonna buy it up? Someone is going to become very, very wealthy. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And in my ongoing attempt to talk about things YouTube considers too controversial by hiding them in gaming content, check out this episode about Marvel Rivals and what it says about unrelenting hunger and OnlyFans. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you on the other side.